What is going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome Anthony to the show today. Anthony, thank you for taking the time with us. It's a pleasure having you on the show, brother. But I got some beef with you. I got a serious problem going on. I would love to say that I was your biggest fan in Chicago, but I wasn't. I was not at all. I'm a North Sider at heart. I'm a Cubs fan till I die. 2016 was a very magical year, but you gave me some problems. You gave me some problems in 2016 that I'd like to touch on you. Your first career home run against Jason Hamels on July 27th, 2016 in Wrigley Field. And I've worked at Wrigley Field the last 3 years of my life. I'm there every morning. It's a beautiful place when no one's there. Nonetheless, a full packed crowd like the Crosstown Classic. Really quick, I just wanted to pick your brain right off the bat and just ask you, what was that atmosphere like? What's it like hitting your first career home run in Wrigley Field in a Crosstown Classic in one of the biggest series of the year, aside from maybe Red Sox Yankees?
Man, I think I need you to hype me up more because you keep saying your first career home run, like I'm going to hit more of them. And I'm like, I'm going to have like career homers and shit. Like, I mean, that was my only shot at it. And no, man, I had like 9 at bats before that. It was an incredible experience. I don't know. It was kind of one of those things that it didn't seem real at the time, and I wish I could have experienced it and enjoyed it even more. But it's funny, like, how the game goes is I had just got traded over to the White Sox like a month or something before that. And so I had just got called up to the big leagues like 3 days before that. So as dope as the experience was, I'm running around the bases and I'm like, how do I even celebrate with these guys? I don't even know them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, what's up, guys? This is cool, but I don't even know, but it was really cool. It was something that I think I appreciate more now that my career is over, and just, because when you're in the middle of your career, you think it's going to keep lasting, and this is just the beginning of things. That you kind of have that arrogance and young youth, behind you. But it was really cool. It was a great experience and something I'll never forget for sure.
Without a doubt. And with the universal DH officially being a part of the MLB whenever they decide to start playing, it's going to take away a part of the game. Moments like that we're not going to be able to see anymore. So having moments like that, Big John Lester, guys like that, getting to see those kind of guys hit their home runs, it is something special. But I am going to give you your flowers, Anthony. I am going to respect you because I am a fan of your game. I just hated the jerseys you were wearing. Now, I do rock with the Red Sox. I'll say that. Jim and Daniel know they are my American League team. They are the only Sox I'll ever rep ever. Definitely not the white ones. But it comes down to it, though, being an Italian-American born player. I was doing some research, and I found out you just got inducted in the Italian-American Hall of Fame in Louisiana. What's that moment like for you? Because I know growing up, especially in Chicago, being, surrounded by minorities, I'm one of the only Italian guys ever. So growing up, being inspired by Anthony Rizzo, Berea, and Yogi, and all these other guys, it's not as common as everybody thinks. So for you to be able to lead that cause and be able to lead, that face of this generation, what was that like for you? And what does that mean to you?
It means, and I think you can respect this. The Italian roots run deep, and in New Jersey in the Northeast, like that's like, there's so much pride there. So it meant the world to me that they even considered me in that realm, and some of the names that were on the list, even in Louisiana, you're like, oh man, I didn't even know he was from here, all these different things, or did this here. And then I was fortunate enough to meet the chairman and the president of the national Italian American Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, and I think they want me to come up to Chicago. That's where the national one is, and I think I might be inducted up there too. So it was a pretty surreal moment, and something that doesn't feel real to me even as I'm experiencing it. It was something my grandfather would take some crazy pride in. He kind of taught me a lot about all of our Italian heritage and the importance of our last name, and the pride that I took in that. And honestly, when I was a kid, I was doing things for our last name. I felt like I carried this almost like weight, where he instilled that in me to be like, hey, you're the first Ranaudo to do some stuff, to go to college, to graduate, to play, do something professionally. And you're doing something for our name and for Italians that worked hard and came over here and fought for this life. So your great grandfather would be super proud, So those moments are really special to me. I'm excited, to just be a part of that and be included in that.
Without a doubt, bro. And I think that's sick. As you know, someone who played ball and someone who, like I said, being Italian myself, there's not a lot of guys to be able to look up to. And I know I'm in my 20s, so it's a little different now, but I'm sure there's plenty of kids out there that are excited to see you get inducted. When you do come to Chicago, I'll give you this. I'll give you your flowers. I know some time has passed. A certain team has won the championship since you've hit that home run. So I'm very forgiveful when it comes to things. So I'll make you a deal this summer. If and when Rob Manfred decides that we're allowed to play baseball again, if you are willing, I'll get you an extra little Cubs hat. We can go down to Wrigleyville and I can grab you a beer. I can grab you a beer to call it even, and then we'll be able to celebrate your induction.
Wow, what an honor. Wow. I consider myself so honored. Thank you. I'll make sure I call. You're the first person I'll call as soon as I touch down in Chicago.
You better. If you call anybody else, I'll just be offended.
Right. Got you.
Anthony, if you step off the plane in Chicago and just ask for Mike Hughes, they'll know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be lining up telling me who he is, right?
Yeah, he's on a lot of back a lot of milk cartons and wanted posters. He's around. He's around for sure. No, man, let's backtrack a little bit. Obviously, being Italian, it's very family oriented, but where are you from? Where does the family reside? Tell me a little bit about growing up there.
Yeah, so if you guys are familiar with that MTV show, Jersey Shore, that's exactly where I'm from. So I grew up in the Jersey Shore. So it's I went to a high school called St. Rose High School in Belmar, which is right on the beach. I grew up in a town called Jackson, which is like a pretty big town in New Jersey, right in central Jersey. Everybody always says it's like North and South Jersey, but I'm smack in the middle where we're from. A bunch of my family's still up there, but a bunch of my family's kind of spread around. My dad lives in Texas now. My mom's still in Jersey. My sister's in I don't even know where she's at. Where is she? North Carolina. My brother's in Virginia. We're all over the place, and I'm in Louisiana. So we're a super tight knit family growing up. But everybody my parents always kind of instilled like whatever we wanted to do was good with with them, and they supported that. So I think, as soon as I went and took my scholarship to LSU, everybody realized that I wasn't going to be in New Jersey too much longer. Everybody kind of started doing their own thing and kind of moved on. But at the same time, when we all link up for Christmas, holidays, that kind of stuff, it feels like we hadn't missed a beat, and we've lived in New Jersey all together forever. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're one of four siblings, right?
Yeah. I got three. So, I got a full sister and then a half brother, half sister too.
What was the age ranges? What's the dynamics like growing up in the house? Are you guys, I had an older sister, so I could imagine like there was a lot of fighting, and then eventually you become best friends. Was it similar for you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely. But it was funny. Like I said, I had a half brother, half sister, so they actually didn't grow up in the same house, but we were super tight. We're like, I think my brother and I are 15 years apart. My sister and I are 17 years apart, something like that. No, 15 and 13, something like that. And then I have a younger sister who's my full sister, and she's 3 years younger than me. So I grew up with her, and that's what it was. It was like, she was kind of always there, and we were always battling little things, but she's like my best friend in the world. She actually just got pregnant. So she's, I'm going to be an uncle again. My older brother and sister already have had kids. They've had, kids for years and stuff. But I feel really, really proud of her that she's about to have her own baby. So that's super cool. And we're super tight now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats to her.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to be an uncle. That's kind of a big deal. You in a family like that. You're a role model. You're inspiration. But looking back on your trajectory as a kid, obviously you're very athletic. You're playing sports. What were some of your influences? Who did you look up to as you were growing up?
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of funny. And ironic. I grew up in Jersey, so I was a huge Yankee fan. We were big time Yankee fans growing up. We would watch baseball almost every single night when the Yankees were playing, especially during the summer. So during their run in the 90s, I became a big Derek Jeter fan. He was my favorite player. It was, I was kind of that shortstop kid growing up, the leader on the team, and in New Jersey, everybody wants to be Derek Jeter. He's the captain, he's the best, he's the leader, and all that stuff. So my dad and took kind of pride into telling me to model things around his career, and we would sit down and we would watch him. So it was really ironic that my first game was actually against the Yankees. Jeter was my first out and strikeout, which was kind of funny. My family was there for it, and I actually got to be at Jeter's last game too, because it was at Fenway, and obviously I was playing against him and stuff. So I got to go shake his hand behind second base when we did the farewell thing, and that was really cool. So it was a full circle moment. But yeah, big Yankee fan growing up, Jeter fan for sure.
Man, Daniel, he cutting into your question later about the Jeter thing.
I mean, it's when you throw out the Yankees and then you throw out anywhere from mid '90s, like you already know who the guy is. Like there's no question about it. Like you have to be a Jeter guy, and it's hard, to be honest. As much as I don't like the Yankees, it's hard not to be a fan of him.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not a fan, you're definitely some sort of hater. You got a little bit of saltiness in you. You're a little bitter. Something, something's deep inside you. If you can't at least do the hat tip and respect. Right. Yeah, there's definitely some demons in you.
Yeah. My son last year, 8 years old, he was a part of a team called the Yankees, and he was given number 2. He has no clue who Derek Jeter is, but he didn't like that he wasn't his normal number 7. I was like, bro, you're playing for the Yankees and wearing number 2. You're super straight. Just roll with it. Like, so.
Yeah.
But anyways, where did you go to high school at?
I went to a high school called St. Rose in New Jersey.
Yeah, so I was looking up, your baseball career there and everything, and just starting right off the top, some guys are late bloomers. You, my guy, are not. As a sophomore, you pitched back-to-back no-hit games. You during the 2005 state championship game, pitched a 2-hit shutout and hit a 3-run homer, which led St. Rose to the New Jersey State title. Like, did you expect success to come so quickly in your high school career?
I guess, like, as I get older, I guess I can answer this. Like, it was just ignorance. It was, I kind of did. Like, I didn't really know that it was success. It was just honestly what I felt like I was supposed to do. Now looking back and really having an understanding of being a kid and being a competitor and those kinds of things, it was like, no, it's just my job, man. Like, I started the game and I was the 3-hole hitter, and there was guys on base, and I hit a 3-run homer and I pitched 6 shutout innings. Like, we won the game, and so I don't know. It was now granted, I know that, like, some of those stats are good and better, but it was like at that time, I think I was just ignorant to what success was and all of that, and looking back on it, it's kind of like fun to enjoy it and look and be like, damn, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because in order to play the game of baseball, you got to have confidence and expect, yourself to do great things. So really not a bad thing to have, honestly, in my opinion. But, continuing on, you selected as the Co-Star Newspaper Athlete of the Year as a junior, recorded a 7-0 mark with a 0.96 ERA, 99 strikeouts. And then senior year, 2007 Rawlings All-American selection, All-State, All-County, All-Division, whatever, all the accolades, my man. Like, you just killed it in high school. And then, one thing to kill it on the field, but then it also says you were the Dwight D. Eisenhower Citizenship Award recipient and president of the Student Council and member of National Honor Society. Is there anything that you did not do and accomplish in high school, Anthony?
No, man, I was the best ass kisser that anybody could have asked for, dude. I did everything. I checked every box, man. I was I don't know, man. I think my dad did a great job raising me, and I took a lot of pride in doing little things like that. I really did. And I was telling somebody this the other day. I went and spoke at LSU yesterday, and there was this kid that came up to me afterwards and just like super proper, shook my hand. I was like, damn, this kid comes correct, right? And he was like, I'm going to West Point. And I was like, oh, I can definitely tell, right? And damn, why does my alarm keep going off? Sorry. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, I can respect that. I think you're gonna, he was like, do you have any advice how to succeed and do? I'm like, just do what you're doing right now. You're asking questions, you're being yourself, you're looking me in the eyes. You shook my hand, and I was like, I just want to let you know. Like, and he asked me too. He was like, do I need to be super tall to like command respect? And I'm like, dude, no, not at all. I'm like, this right here, this conversation, the way you're addressing me, all of these things go such a long way. And I promise you, you're going to be successful. And I was like, I told him a funny story. My dad raised me, and that's going back to this, and I'll tie it all together. But my dad, at literally the age of like 3, 4, 5, 6, before I started playing sports, my dad was a Navy Seabee, and he just thought it would be the coolest thing ever for me to go to the Naval Academy at Annapolis. So from 3, 4, 5, as soon as I could talk, he would have me introduce myself hey, I'm Anthony Ranaudo, and I'm going to the Naval Academy at Annapolis at like 3, 4, 5 years old, just kind of instilling that discipline in me. And I always kind of took pride in little things like looking people in the eyes, good handshakes, good conversation, that kind of stuff. So I think it was just like the next steps and like almost competition. Like, oh, there's a good citizen award. Like I can treat people really well. Like I can do that shit. Let's go,
Absolutely. Well, you killed it. So I got to know, man, the biggest question for me, obviously I'm an LSU fan and family's from Louisiana. So Louisiana is everything to me. I got to know how a kid from Jersey ends up at LSU.
Oh man. I think you'll appreciate this story. I don't know if you remember the name Terry Rooney, but he was the recruiting coordinator that got me here. And this man was nuts. He was like, I mean, he would drink 3, 4 Red Bulls a day, like rock stars. It was our joke that we would do 6:30 morning bullpens, like AM bullpens, and there'd be 2 rock stars in the trash can already, like the empty trash cans for the morning. Dude was just nuts, right? And so he called me on July 1st, all that stuff, and I was super hyped about LSU. Actually, I mean, funny story, actually. I remember the day that LSU called, the way he said LSU, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together that it was LSU. So I remember like putting the phone down and looking at my dad. I'm like, LSU? And he's like, Louisiana State, dumbass. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, what's up, Coach Rooney? And I put it together because he was talking so fast. And then we talked all summer, and then he probably went like 2 or 3 months without talking to me. And right before my visits, like I had 3 visits lined up. I went to Alabama, Virginia, and Vanderbilt. Well, I was supposed to go to Vanderbilt. And there was one open weekend because my niece was getting christened and I didn't have a visit scheduled. And he forced me to come on a visit. I come on a visit. I wound up committing on the spot, and I didn't even go on my visits to Vanderbilt. So it was just like, when I got down to Louisiana, I just felt it, man. It was just like the people here, the atmosphere, everything, like every box that I wanted to check, like LSU checked for me, the baseball program, everything. Coach Rooney and Coach Maneri were just like, it felt like family right from the jump, And my dad and I were just like, we don't even want to go to Vanderbilt. Like, this is the spot. I don't need to go anywhere else.
Well, let me first say that all 3 of us collectively don't like Vanderbilt. So you made the right decision in all our eyes. And then, yeah, you talk about LSU. Every athlete that we interview, like I said, my family's from there. I go down there at least 5, 6, 7 times a year. It's a whole different culture. Like it's the state is its own country almost. And once you're a part of it and you're welcomed in, like, man, like everybody there is family. It's wild.
Yeah.
But with that, like, you talk about you were excited and it was a place you wanted to be, but was there a culture shock coming from the Northeast going down south to the boot?
Oh, 100%. That was, I think, the biggest thing was, I mean, I come from New Jersey, and if people are just handing things out to you, I'm like, there's some sort of catch here. I'm like, what do you want from me, right? So when I got down here, everybody's like, come on, I want to cook you this. Come on over here, do this. I'm like, what do you guys want from me? I'm not doing this. So I think that was the biggest thing. It was just trying to understand that people are just good here and they're just nice. And I think that's not that, again, people aren't good or nice from New Jersey, but it's just there's a little different, viewpoint on other people. And I think I just like the South. I think in general, people are nicer, open, and I've just made it a home down here. So, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting into baseball, freshman season, want to highlight a few things. First was your win over Bama in the SEC tournament. What was it like getting that first win, especially against the SEC rival in that SEC tournament?
Yeah, man, it was, I hadn't pitched a lot that year. I had some injuries in my elbow and everything. So I just felt lucky that I was out there even to be in the SEC tournament and stuff like that. And then that coach put me in there and those critical times. I got lucky, I think, in that game because I think we were down by like 2 or 3 runs and I did my job. I kept us in it, and didn't give up any runs like that. And so we came back and we were on a hot streak at that point. So I wound up being the pitcher of record, but it was still really cool just to be a part of that win streak and everything like that. And I think those little moments kind of set me up for the rest of my career.
Well, yeah, you talk about a little moment setting you up for a big moment. I mean, you get to pitch the last inning of the Super Regional over UC Irvine to advance to Omaha. I mean, talk about a moment like, you talk about being set for a stage, but, Super Regionals, it doesn't get any better than that, right?
Oh, man, it was I just didn't even believe it. I was like, wait, you want me to do this? I was like, no, okay, all right, let's do it. And then sure enough, of course, the ball gets tapped back to me for the last out. So I got to even not mess it up, throwing over to first base. That was the hardest throw of my life. Like grabbing that ball and just throwing over to first base. I was like, oh shit, That was the worst one. I think I jogged it halfway over there.
Yeah, when you're making the final out throw, we had Cameron James from Mississippi State who won the national championship, and he made the final throw from third base, routine throw, and he said he felt like it was the hardest, most difficult throw, and he said it felt like it took forever to get there, right? Like, and it was just routine. So it's funny how those moments, man, something that you just do on the norm, like it's big time.
Crazy, yep.
But y'all obviously go to Omaha and you pitch the inning in the opener against North Carolina. Obviously y'all got taken out by North Carolina, but nonetheless, you got to go to Omaha, get your first experience there. I mean, how cool was that?
Yeah, that was great. And I think Coach Maneri did such a great job. I think we were like down like 9-3 or something like that, 9-4, and he just wanted to get my feet wet, just get me in front of the crowd, get me on that stage, knowing that we had a really good team coming back the next year. So just to pitch in that stadium as a freshman with that team, I remember my dad was out there too, and it was really fun because he didn't get a chance to see me pitch the next year because he wound up having this freak knee injury, falling off a ladder like after we won the super regional that week in between Omaha. So it was a really cool experience for me, especially looking back on it now.
Yeah, well, apparently he was continuing to prime and set you up, getting you that experience, because sophomore season, you're the Tigers' #1 starter throughout the season, recorded a 12-3 record, 3.04 ERA and 19 starts, 50 walks, 159 strikeouts, finished number 3 in the nation in strikeouts, number 5 in wins, became the first LSU pitcher to lead in strikeouts since Kurt Ainsworth. And then to cap it off, you were the winning pitcher in Game 3 of the College World Series final versus Texas. So, I mean, just take us through that whole season, that whole run. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of moments. I mean, tell us about some of the best ones and just what that whole experience was like.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because it was the first year we were in the new box. So I think that first kind of like magic, like just that, like, all right, there's a lot of tradition that we need to carry over. And I felt like a lot of us felt that. So that was kind of cool. But it was really more of a story of I felt like we knew we were going to win the national. And I know a lot of people say that and teams say that, right? But I mean, I feel like you have to have that confidence and that connection with your teammates. And it's something that at 32 years old, we still have a group me and there's 30 of us in there and it's all the guys from the 09 team. And I think we were all brothers then and we're all brothers now. Like we've all, families and things have taken different shapes and forms. But, I think that was something that sticks out to me was even in the biggest moments when we were down and everything like that, it was kind of like look down the dugout and be like, where are we at in the lineup? Who's going to be the hero today? All right, cool. Like, it was just, we knew something good was going to happen. It was fun. And it was a challenge and stuff like that. But I mean, the memories that we made there with that team, I think, the rest of my career just speak for itself. And seriously, were probably the most lasting memories that I've ever had.
Yeah, no doubt. Winning the national championship, leading the charge. And like you said, the camaraderie, we actually just did an episode with some of the parents of the LSU baseball players. It was an idea that they had, and they were just talking about not only the camaraderie that their sons have, but they have, like, all they do is hang out with each other. They go to every game and tailgate. That'd be my question for you about the box. We were having this conversation. I go to all the games in the SEC, and, like, for instance, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, they got grill pits in left and right field, but the box doesn't have that. And it just doesn't make sense to me because Louisiana, man, it's made for cooking. And so, I got Kay Beloso's dad, Rodney, telling me, it's all about cooking in the parking lot. And I'm like, man, they got to change that. The box is too beautiful and perfect. Like, they need to add in the left and right field cooking sections. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I wouldn't be upset about that. I would love to go back there and get some cooking, like now, especially now not being a player, I would love to be back there with the fans. So man, I'll see what we can do. We'll start putting some suggestions and some feelers out there. That'll be a good idea. I like that.
Look, I'll tell you what I wouldn't have done. Mississippi State, shout out to them, but I'm a sore loser. Because of their cooking pits, after they got beat by Long Beach State in the series this weekend, they actually got pictures. They showed them on social media. They were handed down trays of barbecue and food that they had cooked for the players. And man, it's good hospitality. That's good sportsmanship. Wow. But if they would have beat me in my house, they would have had to go hit up mugshots or whatever down the street. But last question, and then I'll let Daniel start to talk to you about, draft and pros and everything. Like LSU, career, summarize it, everything. No regrets, right? I mean, that was the school that was meant for you all along.
100%. I can't imagine my life being anything other than it here in Baton Rouge. And I wouldn't be able to do more than half the things I do on a daily basis if it wasn't for coming down here and making that decision and everything like that. So I'm super grateful for LSU, Coach Maneri, and the people of Louisiana more, especially because they were the ones that supported me during my career and still supporting me after my career. And the reason that I have successful businesses and an opportunity to do these things. So 100%.
So Anthony, you go on to be drafted by the Boston Red Sox, obviously 39th overall pick in the supplemental first round. You had some injuries prior to that. Was it a surprise to be drafted, or you knew that was kind of where you were going to be? And what's the feeling like knowing, man, I'm living my dream right now?
Again, I really think that I wish I would have had that mindset. Honestly, I don't think I did. And that's the thing that kind of hurts me now thinking back on it. I felt like I was just like doing what people told me I was supposed to do. And it was just like, oh, all right, you go to LSU so you can win a national, you become the best pitcher in the country, you win a national championship, you become a first rounder, you go to the major leagues. And really until like 2014, 15, like everything kind of went that way, like I had some bumps in the roads and things like that. But I wish I would have been more grateful for the experience. As much as I did enjoy it, I think I started, and looking back later on in my career, right, that was like how things started to really weigh heavy on me. But in the beginning, it was something really surreal just to win a national championship and be a first rounder. Honestly, that was like something that really meant something to me, and something I took a lot of pride in because I wanted to go to college to better myself. I got drafted out of the 11th round, and I was like, you know what, I want to make improvements and do this and do that. So, for some personal goals and objectives, to win a national championship and then become a first rounder was, just like, everything that I could have dreamed of to go to college, and do.
You feel like there's a little bit of regret looking back on it that you didn't kind of take a step back and enjoy just the ability to get to that position?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like I wish I could have had some perspective. But it's so hard because I see 20-year-olds now, right? Like, and there's no way that I could even think of how to like relate that to them. It's things that you just got to like experience yourself. But yeah, I do. I wish I could have had some sort of perspective to be like, how can I enjoy this more and just understand things, that I understand later in life. I guess it's that same cliche. If I only knew what I know now,
So you started in Greenville, you went to Salem, Portland, Pawtucket. Did you think that the road was easy? Was it a grind? Like what was the route for you? Because we've heard a lot of different perspectives on minor league baseball. I'd be interested to see what your perspective was going through it.
I think my perspective was that it was just par for the course. I'd heard so many like horror stories, and it really, it was not glorious. And I came from LSU, and that was the biggest thing. I think my agents, warned me of like, hey, what goes on at LSU is not what's going to happen in the minor leagues for the first 3 years. You're going to have to work your ass off to get to the point like where you have the facilities that you had at LSU. So I think I had a little bit of an understanding of it, and at least an awareness and a heads up about it. But my experience, I felt like, was very privileged as a first rounder. So I felt like I could afford other things that other guys couldn't have. And I didn't really like that feeling. It felt weird. I wanted to be just normal, I wish I would have had a little bit more confidence in myself just to be who I was and that kind of stuff, and just be like, dude, this is who you are. And like, this is part of your journey, and just go with it. But I kind of wanted to fit in more and be, like, oh, I'm in the suck with the grinders, and that kind of stuff. But my reality really wasn't as bad as some of the things that it could have been, the experience wise, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. So then in 2014, obviously all the hard work and stuff, you get called up. You start seeing some payoff. You get your first start against the Yankees. You get your first strikeout against your hero, Derek Jeter. What is it like knowing that they go, hey, Anthony, we're going to call you up. Hey, just so you know, you're going to play the best team in baseball?
I just was like, I didn't really care who it was. It just felt like so surreal that it was the Yankees. I think it was more that I got to call my dad and be like, dude, we did it. Like, you know, all the BS that he went through, all the things like of my mom's family and, you know, I don't want to say my mom's family, but family members and things like that, like criticizing him for investing in my career and time and things like that, right? Was kind of all came to fruition in that moment. And it was against the Yankees on a Friday night at Fenway. So I think that phone call was like the moment that made me feel like, man, all this stuff was worth it. And him and I get to, or our family, you know, gets to experience this together.
Man, that's got to be an incredible feeling, and I'm sure your parents obviously getting a chance to see you do that, probably something pretty special and a memory that they'll always cherish. But you end up having some stops in Texas, Chicago. Out of the Texas, Chicago, and Boston, you know, teams, where was your favorite spot? What was your favorite team?
It's hard not to say Boston because they drafted me, and you know the experience with Boston and the way that they treated me was completely different than the other ones, than the other locations, just because I was an investment to them, right? Like they put their money into me. It was a draft pick. It was a different. They had a vested, you know, interest in me succeeding. The other guys, you know, it was more like, all right, if this works out, like, cool, we look smart, you know, but it didn't feel like there was anything behind it. My experience itself, though, I loved Chicago. I just love the city. I loved playing with the White Sox because it was the exact opposite of the Cubs, which felt like this like pristine, clean, like buttoned up, you know, version. And here I am with tattoos and things like that. And I just felt like we were the grinders in the South Side. Like it was like, all right, cool. We suck. It's like we're grinders. Like it doesn't matter. Like this is almost like not pro ball, you know, like, but it's in the major leagues. So I just really enjoyed that experience. And Chris Sale was super dope. Like he wound up becoming one of my really good friends. So obviously having that kind of superstar, you know, be friendly with you as a rookie and that kind of stuff was something that made that experience a lot more enjoyable. And I got to play with Todd Frazier, who was a kid that I like, you know, in New Jersey. We grew up kind of playing against each other, stuff like that, and knew of each other, but we weren't like friends or anything. So we became friends with the White Sox, and that was really cool too.
Since you brought up Chris Sale, were you there when he did the whole cutting up of the old jersey type thing? I think that was that year, was it not?
Hey, I got the best story for you if you guys got 5 minutes, like, because this is,
Let's go.
So the reason that I got to pitch in the major leagues and hit a home run was because Chris Sale cut up the jerseys. So I was in AAA, and my manager calls me in the office and he's like, hey, dude, I need you to be on standby. Just hang out in the office right now. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, dude, you might be going up to Chicago. And this was, mind you, I'm just a month in with this organization. So I hadn't been called up yet and I didn't know anybody. And I was like, oh, all right. So I just sat in the office for like 45 minutes. He went out and took a phone call and all these different things. And he comes back and he's like, all right, yeah, you're going to go up. I can't tell you what's going on right now, like blah, 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 but there's some drama going on in the major league team. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I start packing my stuff, and then I go on Twitter and I see everything that Chris Sale got suspended because he cut up a bunch of jerseys and all this stuff. So they had to have a bullpen day and push the different starter up. So I was going to make his start 2 days from now or whatever, because he was going to be suspended. So I get to go up and I'm in the bullpen for the first 2 games. I get called up the next day. I go up there and it's a doubleheader. I get there in between the 2 games, and there was a fight in the locker room between 2 of the players. I'm not gonna say the players, but because I don't think it publicly went out there, but there was a fight between the 2 players, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I walk into this mess and then had to go play a game, and we had a walk-off win, and I had to go celebrate with everybody. And then the next day I'm in the clubhouse and the manager comes up to me and he's like, yeah, dude, you're starting for Sale. And that was the game that I hit the home run. And then the next day he comes off his suspension, and like we just became friends. He just comes up to me. He's like, dude, F you. And he dropped, like, he said the F word. And he's like, you take my spot, you hit a home run. And then we literally laughed, became best friends. And at the end of the year, we had these replica jerseys that were sitting on the table. And I was like, dude, this is going to be so weird. I was like, can you just sign this for me? I want to frame it, because it's the replica jerseys that he cut up. And he was like, yeah, dude, I got you. He signs it and he writes, fuck these jerseys on the jerseys and cuts them up. And so I have it framed in the shop. So I don't know if you saw it in the shop, but I have it in there. And like, I just think it's the coolest story because, I mean, I got to pitch that game that he got suspended for. He writes that on the jerseys without me asking, cuts them up. I was like, this is like a story that was forever meant to be. And I think it was just so cool that I got the jersey and got it framed.
I missed that in the shop, but man, that was the thing. You had so much cool stuff in your shop. Like a lot of things I missed because I was walking around and I had my wife and kids with me, and you know they're like trying to go shopping at the women's boutiques next door and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm trying to hang out in here for like a couple hours anyway. So that was a problem. I was battling the family, trying to check out everything you had going on. But like I said, I'm gonna be down there a few more times. I'm gonna check it all out.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
you mentioned Chris Sale and just, you know, the type of person he was and the relationship that you were able to build with him. But you end up going overseas. You go to Korea. You finish up your career there. You know, how do you end up in Korea? Like, how does that come to be?
So after the 2016 season, I was out of options, which means like they couldn't really move me up and down again without taking me off the 40-man roster. So I knew, and in the year before, I had some offers from Japan. And that's just kind of like they kind of contact your agent and they're like, hey, would Anthony have any interest in like leaving the 40-man roster and coming over, like all these different things. They try to like buy your contract from the team or whatever. And so the next year, Korea approached, and I told my agent, I was like, dude, if this opportunity comes, let's chase it, let's do it. And so he found a really great deal, and they bought out my contract with the White Sox. The White Sox realized that I was probably on the fence anyway. They were either going to trade me or take me off the roster. So they were happy to get $500,000 for me to get off the roster, you know? So the Korean team bought me off the roster at $500,000. Then they negotiated my contract and I got a contract with them, signed with them, and go over there, do the physical, all that stuff. It was wild.
So you eventually make the ultimate choice to hang it up. What went into that choice, and was it just you were ready, or was it, you know, injury? What was the case for you?
So my season out in Korea actually ended with a line drive back at my hand, and it broke my hand, and I had a plate and 7 screws put in there. And I came back to LSU and I graduated, and I was just like not really crazy about like training, and like, you know, I just didn't have the same drive that I did to be like, man, I'm really excited to come back and do this, do that. So I just kind of like took it at that. I had a contract with the White Sox and we came to terms, and the same day that we came to terms, I actually was working out and I ruptured my L5-S1 in my back. And I kind of took that as a sign, like, all right, I'm just going to sit the next few plays out. I'm going to go back to LSU. I'm going to graduate. And once I did that, I really just never had to drive to ever play again, honestly. Like, I told people that I was training and stuff because I wasn't ready to let go of it. And I really did. I think I trained for like a year and a half or something, but I really didn't have intentions of playing. I think it was more of I was afraid to let it go and that kind of stuff and move on to the next phase. But yeah, it was just time for me. I was ready.
So speaking of the next phase, man, the post career, you mentioned that you graduated. So when I looked it up, I was doing some research. It says on LinkedIn, 2007 to 2018. It was a flashback for me from high school. It's about how long it took me to get through that. Your story was a little bit different. You did a lot of cool shit in between. I was just hanging out. But yeah,
yours was way cooler than mine.
yeah. So, but you know, you go back, you get your degree, and you're kind of, I'm sure at this point, your identity has been baseball for so long that it's probably, you know, was it a hard transition? We talk about, you know, college to the minors to the majors, but was it a hard transition going from, you know, professional athlete now playing in Korea and then coming back and being, when all due respect, a civilian again?
Yeah, no, that was I think that was it was the scariest, but at the same time, the most exciting. It was the most liberating because for my whole life, I felt like I had this like Anthony, the baseball player label, you know, and I had to fit into this box and be this person. And I couldn't do this exercise because I might get hurt. I can't do this activity because I might get hurt. I can't try this supplement because I might fail a drug test, you know, like all these different things. So it was kind of fun for me to just be like, oh, cool. I can take any supplement I want. I can do whatever I want. Like, I don't have to worry about workouts. I can go play basketball, like whenever I want, you know, all these different things. So that's where I kind of enjoyed it, but it was more like, oh man, what am I really going to do now? Like, you know, like time wise and purpose wise and obviously financially. I'd made some money, so I didn't need to work in the second to put food on the table, you know, but I realized like, oh man, this is not sustainable. Right. So that's when things started to hit me. And that's when I was like, man, how am I going to incorporate some of the things that I've learned, some of the things that I've been involved in, whether that was investing, you know, throughout my career, or am I going to like totally go into a whole nother field and try something new?
Yeah, and obviously, being as we're on right now, you also have a podcast, the Up and In Show. Just talk to us about how that kind of transpired and kind of what your vision was for that.
Yeah, so I just like we were talking about, every athlete doesn't know what to do. So I tried the baseball lesson route, right? I realized I wasn't very good at giving lessons, and kids were way more interested in asking me what it was like to pitch at Fenway Park or strike out Derek Jeter.
Well, that's a really cool shit to hear about, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I was like, if I was a kid, that's what I would want to know more too. So I was like, how can I kind of reach more kids? How can I talk about this stuff more? How can I get more stories like this involved, right? And use my network. I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time, and Tony Robbins was always talking about how in order to become a good businessman, he interviewed like 50 billionaires and understanding like how they got there. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll talk about other baseball players and athletes and their story and give these kids access and things that I didn't have. And if a college coach, or I mean, not college coach, high school coach or a dad or, you know, somebody that is looking for this information, these stories, whatever, this is a good way to do it. So I thought the podcast was a cool way to interview people, bring together a community, and kind of talk about the things that traditionally people didn't have access to.
Yeah, absolutely. And just from listening, I mean, you guys hit on a lot of things, what it's like to be an athlete, and the side that, you know, we highlight on this show a lot, but it doesn't get talked about enough, is that mental health side of that, because everything, it seems like you're living out the dream, right? You're a pro baseball player, pro football, whatever it is, but it's still like real humans, real emotions, and getting through that grind, or maybe that you have injuries or, you know, whatever it is. So for me to see you highlight that, I know it means a lot to us on this show because we try to do the same thing, but was that always going to be part of your message when you started the podcast? Like, look, I'm not just going to talk sports. I'm going to talk about kind of the ugly side of things too.
Absolutely. I think that's where the name the Up and In Show came from. It was more like, let's talk the mental side of things. Let's talk about adversity. Let's talk about your struggles, how you got to the top. What did you learn from that kind of stuff? Like, what were some of the resiliency tactics that you developed through this, you know, adversity and these things, and to get to the top, to get to where you're at. So I think the Up and In Show kind of played on my lack of ability to keep the ball down in the zone, right? But it was also like kind of like up and in the mind of the people that are on the show too.
No, absolutely. So you talked about having to put food on the table, and one of the ways, obviously, for those that don't know, was the F45, the training franchise. So just kind of talk about how you got involved with that, number one, and then kind of what your vision is going forward with that.
And this is another reason that I love the podcast, right? Because like podcasting is a great organic way to network and things like that. So really down the podcast rabbit hole, I kind of discovered F45 training. It was just one thing led to another, right? And I wound up meeting this girl, and we hit it off, and we wound up dating for a little while, but she was building some F45s in San Antonio, and she had started working out at one in Austin. Then she became like an ambassador there. Then she went back to San Antonio and started and had a couple of business partners in it. And I was like, man, I really like that model. And I felt like with the LSU baseball community, the F45 franchise is really built around community and wellness and health and that kind of stuff, but it's like community driven. So I was like, man, this is really cool. Like, I could get behind this. And I think Louisiana had a unique opportunity in the fitness space, the wellness space, where I can incorporate some of our background in sports and stuff like that in that, and bring that community together in Baton Rouge. And I felt like I had the right business partners, the right people with me, the team, that kind of stuff. So it just made sense. And F45 is a great product, so it was easy to kind of jump on board with them.
Now, you know, I spent some time in between marriages, not to talk about myself, and I didn't meet the same kind of girls that were building F45s, man. They was building something different.
Oh, maybe you're just looking. I just looked in the right places. I got lucky. That was it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm remarried now. I hit the lottery there. I got to say that in case she listens.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not married, so that's a problem. See, I'm looking in the wrong places. I just keep chasing stuff.
Well, no doubt. So you talked about it over the course of your career. You kind of made some investments. And what about when you're have some money or people think you have money? Are people constantly coming at you, look, hey, invest in this new thing, invest in this, and help me build this?
Yeah. Or at least my experience, it is. I think too, like when you put yourself out there as somebody that's in that world, right? Like, or that you want to do business, like if you're an athlete and you just play baseball or basketball or football or whatever, and you just carry on with your family, do your thing, like I'm sure it's going to be hard to reach those people, right? But the people that put themselves out there, yeah, I got hit up all the time. And it was something that I felt like I attracted, right? Because I did put myself out there and it was something that I did want to do. So but yeah, it was kind of my experience that people assume you just have deep, endless pockets, and that because you have money, you'll just write a check and do whatever and not even worry about it, right? And just give them money. So that was always an interesting experience.
Yeah, usually a lot of families, from what I hear. I don't know, I don't have that experience, but yeah. So, but over your, I actually heard something today on a podcast. Speaking of that, was Ryan Stewman. He said that if you have, $100 million, it does you no good if you don't invest it, because money depreciates and all that. So I understand the investment thing. I do it. It's just on a much smaller level.
All right.
So to talk about some of those business ventures that you've been into, obviously we talked about the podcast and F45, but there's been other business ventures that you've gotten into now. And what are those?
Yeah. So F45 was obviously one of the first ones. I made some angel investments over the course of my career. So I invested in a place called Diamond Nation up in New Jersey. It's the it's Jack Cuss and Jenny Finch Baseball Softball Academy. That's been a really great investment. I invested in the initial round of Marucci Sports down here in Baton Rouge, and they made a successful exit during COVID, which was really nice. And then I made some other small angel investments in like the food industry. Those didn't go very well. So I lost a little bit of money. I recouped one of the investments, which was nice, but I actually lost some money. I lost some money in a land deal too. I thought I was going to partner with somebody who was going to get some financing to develop some land. Luckily I held on to the land as collateral, but just over time, I took a deal after 3 or 4 years of nothing happening, of like, you know what, I just want my money back, take the land. What am I going to do with these 8 acres of land, So I wound up losing a little bit of money there, but gained a lot of valuable experience. And then during COVID, I started Cards and Culture, and that's my new thing that is truly mine, something that I started with a business partner, but something that I kind of have full control of, which what I learned with writing checks and being a minority owner and things like that is when you don't have control and your money's in somebody else's hands, it's kind of a helpless, scary feeling. And that's why I like Cards and Culture, because it's something that I've put my money into, and I can kind of like be in control of that, which is a lot of fun.
So talk about that. The last question I got to give you back to Jim, but when you talk about Bill, I noticed that in a lot of your business ventures, they are old teammates or whatever. How do you go about picking a business partner? Obviously, you want everybody to be honest and say, yeah, I had the money, the financing or whatever. What have you learned there to pick better business partners in the future?
Yeah, I think everybody's putting their best foot forward, right? So you got to really sift through everything and look at it's going to be uncomfortable. That's what I've realized, is you got to ask a lot of uncomfortable questions. You got to do things that are not really natural. So but it's part of business and something that I'm definitely gonna hang on to going forward. But I think those lessons then allowed me to take the steps forward and not make them the next round, and that's where I think I'm at now. And I have some really good mentors and advisors. And I think that building Cards and Culture the right way versus not that I did it the wrong way. It was just I was on the wrong end of things, I think, in my last ventures.
So I lied to you. I have more questions.
All right, I like it. Fire away.
You hit on something there about mentors, and I just, for everybody that's listening, I'm sure listens to you, how important, because for me, that's how I got mildly successful in the business world, was picking a mentor, somebody that was at where I wanted to be, and surrounding myself with those kind of people. So I always try to stress that message, and I would imagine you do the same, right?
100%. And that's exactly it. I think one of the things I realized too is the more that you learn, you don't know shit,
That's right.
And so the more questions and the more people you can surround yourself with that are smarter than you, or to me, this is the biggest thing, more experienced than you, right? Because you can be the smartest person, you can make the best decisions, you can have the best emotional intelligence, all these things, right? But experience wins, I think, and that's one thing that as a rookie in the business world, that's what I'm learning I don't have. So I've chosen business mentors and partners that are older than me, that have done it more than me, done it better than me, and have had success in the areas that I want to go through. So you're exactly right, man. And and I got lucky with Cards and Culture. My business mentor organically became an investor in my business. So now I have an investor who is a mentor of mine as well, which is awesome.
No, that's awesome. I had an old man tell me one time, if you ever find yourself the smartest person in the room, you need to leave that fucking room.
In the wrong room. That's exactly.
Yeah, you're in the wrong room.
I was like, but yeah, no, I love that phrase, and it's true, man. And I'm gonna say this too. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think I've applied that to, like you said, the people you surround yourself with, your circle. I'm not gonna say your friends, your family, that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying, if you don't feel challenged, or if everybody's starting to come to you for answers and stuff like that, it might be a good time to start challenging yourself, where you need to go surround yourself with people that you're looking for answers from, that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. So this really will be my last question. You hit on Cards and Culture. For those that don't know, what is the vision, and what about all the great things happening there? Because Jim, it was like he was a kid at Disney World. I think he enjoyed that trip more than he enjoyed the whole trip down to Louisiana, was just that time he was there in Cards and Culture.
I know. I wish I would. I was like on some phone calls in the back, and like sometimes I get stuck back there because it's technically my.
Whoa! I gotta know. Actually, since we brought this up, I ended up seeing on Instagram later. Careful what you put on social media. I seen you in a tattoo session. You sure you didn't blow me off for a tattoo session?
It's okay if you did.
No, that tattoo session was like way later in the night. That was
okay.
That was Jay Zumo's. I'm like, when did I get a tattoo? But I got a tattoo on my leg, right?
Yeah, because I'm fully sleeved up. So if that would have been what you blew me off for, I actually wouldn't have been mad.
You would have understood.
But I told my wife, I seen it in your story, and I was like, hey, when he was in a business meeting, I actually think he was getting a tattoo.
Nah, that was like 7 or 8 p.m. at night. So I think you were in the shop earlier in the day, right? I think in the middle of the day, right? Yeah. No, that happened at night. So that would have made me feel bad, but no. That was nighttime stuff. So, shoot, what were we talking about? Sorry, what was I saying?
What's the great things happening at Cards and Culture?
Oh yeah, Cards and Culture. Yeah. So I think the vision with that was, it was always kind of like a community landing spot for athletes, entertainers, influencers, that kind of stuff. But more athletes to have a place that they can interact with their fans, and fans can interact with their athletes in a newer, innovative way. So I have a bunch of TVs in there. So I want to have video game tournaments. I want to have autograph signings. I want to have, I've had art viewings and live art watch parties, things like that. And kind of the exit strategy with Cards and Culture is hopefully to get bought out or acquired by like a FanDuel's or a DraftKings or something like that sees the value in sports gambling and watching, or a streaming service or something like that, where the space is used for dual action, right? It's got the sports cards, the memorabilia, the art, and the gallery feel, where people can hang out, and it gives it that different, cleaner feel. But you can actually come in there and watch sports. Your kids can play video games. You guys can break cards. You can buy some sneakers, buy, sell, trade things. And I think it's built for bigger cities. So I would like to expand it to bigger cities, and kind of embodies that city's culture and art and kind of creative style within that city. And I think one of the things that's important to me too is we're taking a page out of the Marucci playbook, where we're developing an advisory board of athletes, and with the NIL partnerships too, and professional athletes and things like that. And all the different cities that we want to go to. I think it's important to have athlete advisors kind of like help us through that process and influence kind of the way that I do in Baton Rouge.
Hey man, how upset were you that NIL came after you were done?
Oh my God, I know. But you know what? That's why I like Cards and Culture. I can live vicariously through these kids, and my business can play a part in it. And it's like, I can do a little bit of both. So it works out well for me. If I was doing nothing and I was just in finance, I'd be salty, man. I'd be salty.
Yeah, because all three of us have careers, that's actually where all our sponsorship money, we've set up, we've had nine different athletes we sponsored and giving out payments to. And so that's actually been the whole goal of ours is to get these men and women taken care of, especially ones that deserve. Like an example, just from like LSU, Kaya Johnson, star gymnast. She came all the way up here, up to Memphis, and her teammate, Alana Shinikova, they did a meet and greet. They signed autographs, took pictures. We gave them character awards, $1,000 each. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to do. Because, Randy's playing it off over there with his low money talk over there. That man's balling out the frame, so he don't need any money from podcast sponsors.
That's awesome.
No rich person ever said they had enough money, though.
Exactly. That's awesome.
All right, but to make it a little more lighthearted and transition, we're gonna play a little game that we play with every guest called This or That. You down to play?
Let's go. Let's go.
All right, so there's only 2 rules in this game. You can't say neither, and you can't say both. You have to answer the question. All right, so with that being said, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty?
Half full.
Do you have a reason behind that, or is that just what it is?
No, that's my perspective. I like to see things on the positive side.
Exactly. Okay, because most people would say that's optimistic. I'm a half empty kind of person, but it's not necessarily because I'm not optimistic. I just feel like there's more that I need to do. So I don't know. Everybody looks at it a different way.
Absolutely.
All right, so this one will be a fun one for you. We talk about the culture coming from north, coming to the south. Italian food or Cajun food?
Oh my God, that's a no-brainer for me. Italian all day.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say
no-brainer.
no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer for me. It's real quick. It's not like it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me.
They're now no longer going to invite you to the crawfish bowl.
I know. I got to be careful with what I say, right? But hopefully the Italians got my back. You know what I'm saying? I got my Italian people down here too. We'll see.
All right. So my business friend over there asked me to ask you this question. This is out of my league, but he said NFT or the actual card.
Ooh. All right. I like the actual card if we're talking about sports cards, but NFTs in general, like the collection and the phrase that the stage that they're in, I don't know. My brain is addicted to that stuff, like addicted.
How many do you own?
Oh man, I probably have over 100, 150 NFTs.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, he asked me to ask that, and I was like, bro, you have to break that down before I.
He said, "What's an NFT?" I'm like, well, to be fair, I only learned this like a month ago, and I was reading all about it. It's like that new crypto, NFT world. It's a whole. You can really make some money, and I've made a little, just a tiny bit.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how much. I'm deep in it though. I'm deep in it. So.
All right, so this next one will be interesting because I hear you talk about being an entrepreneur and how much you love it. What's more fun for you, being an athlete or being an entrepreneur?
Man, I think entrepreneur because I think I'm more in control. I get to like pick the people that I surround myself with, and the events that we put on, that kind of stuff. Like I'm in control of that. When I was an athlete, it was like, be here at this time, do this, be this way, that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of privileges and a lot of great things that came with being an athlete. Don't get me wrong. But I think I enjoy and I'm happier with entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, and we get a lot of athletes that say that. It's amazing how most people would think that playing, we got a guy, Jacob Billingsley. He's now got the biggest sports performance complex in the whole Mid-South area. And he says he's more fulfilled by working and teaching young athletes the right way to train more than he was an athlete himself. So it's amazing how when we talk to you guys, how what you're doing after is more exciting sometimes than the actual playing itself. So it's kind of a wild thing because for us guys who never made it to anything like what you made it to, I'm thinking, man, I'd rather be playing, but
Right. Yeah.
All right. So, you talked about, you hadn't settled down yet. What do you think a girl would rather see out of you? You think she'd rather you be funny or be smart?
Well, I like to think that it would be smart because I don't think I'm very funny. But I think women would probably like funny.
Look, man, you see me. I'm not very attractive. My wife is a 10, so it's definitely funny.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's probably why I'm single and I'm not married. That's it. I got to be funnier, man. I got to learn. Teach me something.
Randy, how did I land Sarah? Because I'm not funny or smart, bro. I don't even know.
It's laughing, bro. That's funny. I like that.
It's because you can lift 1,000 pounds.
That's what it is. Yeah.
There it is.
That's it.
All right. So more iconic to you, and this may be a no-brainer, but I was in your shop. I've seen numerous paintings. Obviously, legendary status since his passing. Who's the more iconic symbol to you in sports, Kobe or Derek Jeter?
Oof.
I think this is unfair because Kobe's
no. That's why the last 2 questions always have to be the hardest questions, and he doesn't get the money or friends question because he's a pro athlete.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Kobe, and I never, ever thought I would say that. I really don't. It was honestly, and if Kobe didn't die, I don't think I would have answered this. I don't think I would have said that. Yeah, I think a lot of things came to light with Kobe's death that not a lot of people knew about, me included. And I was like, oh my God, we lost a legend. Like the things that he already did and the things that he was about to do and his legacy and things like that. I'm like, all right. Derek Jeter obviously speaks for herself, but I don't know. I think Kobe maybe.
You were talking about having hindsight and, the things you wish you had done. Randy will tell you, I was the biggest Kobe hater his whole career. I slandered him. I even one time in Memphis, after he hit Mike Miller in the throat, which was inexcusable, I had my wife, who was working at a bar downtown, tell me he just walked in, and I text Randy. I said, I'm fixing to go down there and fight Kobe. And he said, bro, do not do that. He's 6'8". You're not going to get anywhere near you. He's going to absolutely whoop your tail.
The reach alone.
Did you go?
No, Randy taught me down.
That's so great. I wish I would have heard the rest and been like, so I went anyway.
We talk a big game. J.R. Smith was walking by us one time, and he was the whole time prior to that, he was talking about how much he hated J.R. Smith. Then J.R. Smith walked up. Randy like, hey man, can we get a pic together? So we all talk big games.
That's incredible. I love it.
All right. So this next question, we're gonna find out everything about you right here on this final question. Would you rather do 5 years in jail or 10 years in a coma?
Ooh. 5 years in jail. Yeah, give me 5 years in jail all day.
Daniel, enlighten him.
Man, come on. Don't be like all these other cats that come on here and just lie to our face. Jail is rough, and I ain't never been there.
It's my biggest fear. It's one of my biggest fears in life. I'm not trying to act like I would want to go to jail, but I think that if somebody forced me into two choices, I think I would learn more from going to jail than I would in a coma for 10 years.
Anthony, the interesting dynamic is the baseball players always pick jail. It was the MMA fighters and the football players who actually said coma. That's what makes it interesting. You baseball players ain't scared, apparently.
I bet it's because we're too soft all the time. We feel like we got to act hard. So just talking about jail makes us feel tougher. So that's probably what it is.
As I've gotten older, I've realized what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I know damn well I am not good at jail. So
I would not be good in jail. That's why I would learn some shit.
Right. What I do know I'm good at is sleeping. So I'll go ahead and take a coma.
Just a quick 10-year nap. That's it.
Yep, that's it, baby.
I'll be fresh.
Daniel, I said I was going to leave that last question off there, but I'm actually curious now. Well, I wasn't going to ask it because you were the 39th pick, Anthony, but, our normal question we'll ask to a lot of guys, especially because, they're in college and they haven't been drafted yet. Austin Riley is the only one that we talked to post-draft. If you could be the first pick in the MLB draft, but the caveat was you had to cut all your friends loose, or you could be not drafted at all and keep all your friends, which one you doing?
Oh, my God. Man, I already been drafted, so I would say keep all my friends and not be drafted.
See, that's why I didn't want to ask it after the fact. But if
I asked some guy, it's easier for me, yeah.
But if I asked you in real time, what would you have said?
Ooh, I would probably have been like, man, fuck my friends, like.
I say that all the time.
Exactly, yeah. No, that's funny. That's funny. That's a good one. I like that.
Anthony, man, it's been a real pleasure, dude. We're blessed to have you on. Anything that you want to plug or promote before you hop off here?
Nah, man. Thank you, guys. I just appreciate this. I appreciate podcasting. I appreciate connecting with people that are doing cool things. And yeah, man, just give me some stuff to share on your guys' show, like whenever this comes out and everything. And I want to put it out there because this is good stuff and you guys are good people. And like I said, I just like mixing it up with people that care about the right things and stuff. So I appreciate your guys' time.
Absolutely, man. Y'all go out. Y'all follow him on Instagram at Cards and Culture at Anthony_Ranaudo. Go listen to him on the Up and In podcast. Go to F45 and work out. Get your lift on. Get your cardio on. Get your HIIT fitness. All that good stuff. Anthony, man, anything we can do to help you out along the way, please reach out to us, brother.
Absolutely. Same to you guys. Thank you.
All right, man. If you like hearing Anthony's story or you just like hearing Average Joe's talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook. Retweet us on Twitter. Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, comments, ratings, and feedback is always welcome. We'll be back next episode where we're going to be talking LSU gymnastics with our girl. She's family now, Kaya Johnson. This has been the N Off the Bench podcast. As always, remember, strong bodies, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out.